I never thought I'd be the kind of person to betray my best friend. Honestly, I still don't know how it even happened. It all started so innocent. She introduced me to Jake, her boyfriend, and I was happy for her. But there was something about him, something I couldn't ignore. The way he looked at me when she wasn't around, the small touches that lasted a little too long. I told myself it was nothing, just friendly, harmless. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. It wasn't long before those harmless moments started to feel like more. I caught him lingering near me during group hangouts, whispering jokes only I could hear. My heart would race, guilt creeping in every time I saw her smile, trusting him completely. But I couldn't stop myself from enjoying the attention. It was like a secret I wasn't supposed to have. The thrill of it was intoxicating. One night, she went out of town for the weekend, and Jake invited me over just to hang. I knew it was a mistake the second I said yes. Sat close on his couch, the air thick with something unspoken. When his hand brushed mine, my breath caught. I pulled away, telling myself this was wrong, but he didn't stop. That night, everything changed. We started texting in secret, at first. Just small messages, but soon they grew longer, more personal. He told me things he never said to her, and I listened, caught in a web I couldn't escape. Every message was a temptation, every reply a step deeper into something I knew would destroy us all. I was already too far gone. When she finally came back, nothing was the same. I could feel the weight of the secret between Jake and me like a silent storm. I avoided her eyes, stumbled over my words, but she didn't suspect a thing. How could she? She had no idea that the person she trusted most was already slipping away. Every day felt like walking on a tightrope. I was juggling the guilt that gnawed at me and the undeniable pull Jake had on me. When she laughed around us, my heart twisted with shame. But when he looked at me with that secret smile, all I wanted was to stay caught in that moment, just a little longer. I told myself I could stop anytime. But the more I lied to myself, the harder it became to pull away. The line between right and wrong blurred until I couldn't even see it anymore. There was this one afternoon when we were alone in the kitchen. She was out running errands, and Jake was just supposed to grab a snack. But the way he leaned against the counter, casually brushing his fingers over mine, made it impossible to think clearly. My mind screamed that this was a terrible idea, that I was about to lose everything, but my body betrayed me. I let him pull me closer, and for a moment, I forgot about the consequences. The nights became the hardest. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, heart pounding as my phone buzzed with a new message from him. Each text was a mix of sweet confessions and dangerous promises. I kept telling myself it was just a fantasy, something that would fade away when she wasn't around. But every time we met in secret, the fantasy became more real, more urgent. I was drowning in the thrill and the guilt, and there was no one to save me. She started to notice something was off. Her questions were subtle at first. "Are you okay?" Or, "You've been quiet lately." I'd brush them off with a smile, pretending everything was fine. But inside, I was screaming. I was living a double life. The cracks were beginning to show. The weight of my lies was suffocating, but I was trapped, too scared to confess or end it. Every moment felt like walking toward a cliff, and I didn't know when I'd finally fall. One night, after she went to bed early, Jake came over. We were supposed to keep things secret, but that night felt different, heavier. He looked at me with eyes full of conflict, and I could see the guilt mirrored in his face. We both knew this couldn't go on forever, but neither of us wanted to be the one to stop. That night, as we held each other in the dark, the reality hit me harder than ever. I was the cause of a betrayal that could shatter a friendship forever. The next morning, I couldn't look her in the eyes. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee, talking about some plans for the weekend. Her voice was light, easy, like nothing had changed. But I could barely breathe. Every word she said felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I kept nodding, forcing a smile, all while my mind replayed the night before on a loop. The warmth of his hands, the way his voice dropped to a whisper, it was all still so fresh, so intoxicating. And yet, I hated myself for wanting it again. We tried to set rules. No more seeing each other alone. Jake said one day, his voice low, serious. I agreed. In theory, but we both knew rules were useless. The pull between us was stronger than our promises. Within a week, we had broken that rule, again and again. Each time, we swore it was the last. Each time, we lied. It wasn't just the physical closeness anymore. It was the secret, the adrenaline, the way it made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. I was addicted, and there was no easy way out. Then came the first real close call. We were sitting on the couch, too close, knees brushing, when she walked in unexpectedly. My heart jumped into my throat. I practically leapt to the other end of the couch, mumbling something about looking for my phone. Jake played it cool, but I could see the flash of panic in his eyes. She didn't say anything, but her gaze lingered on us for just a second too long. That look haunted me for days. I started wondering if she already knew, if she was just waiting for me to admit it. I began avoiding her, which only made things worse. She'd ask me to hang out, and I'd make excuses like, I'm tired, I have work, maybe next week. The truth was, I couldn't handle the guilt that clawed at me every time I saw her smile. And yet, in the very same breath, I'd text Jake, asking when we could see each other again. It was a dangerous cycle, one I knew couldn't last forever. The walls were closing in, and I could feel the end coming. I just didn't know how explosive it would be. It happened on a Friday night. She had invited me over for a casual dinner, just the three of us. My stomach churned the entire time I was getting ready. The air was thick with unspoken tension. We laughed and talked, but it all felt forced, every glance loaded with meaning. Halfway through the evening, caught her staring at me with this strange expression. Not anger exactly, but something sharper, something knowing. In that moment, I realized she wasn't clueless anymore. She was watching, waiting, and the game we'd been playing was about to end. The night after that awkward dinner, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the way his eyes had shifted to mine in the flickering light. My heart beat faster than I wanted to admit. But I also felt this gnawing guilt in my stomach. She was my best friend. She trusted me. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about him. The next morning, I found a note on the kitchen counter in her handwriting. It said, "Hope your day's better than mine." There was no explanation, but I knew she knew. One night, she left for a girls' dinner. I hear a knock at the door. It was Jake. We sat in the kitchen, talking about nothing and everything. At one point, he leaned in, close enough that I could smell the faint cologne on his shirt. My heart raced. Then he whispered, "You know, you're not like anyone I've met before." I froze, unsure whether to laugh, run, or lean closer. Before I could respond, my phone lit up a text from her. "Love you, girl. See you in a couple hours." My stomach twisted, shoved my phone back down, trying to act normal, but my hands were trembling. He noticed, smirking just slightly, like he knew exactly the effect he had on me. That's when I realized I was on the edge of a cliff, and he was daring me to jump. Every word, every look, felt like a secret we were building together. Things were really starting to get risky, but I liked it. The following week, things escalated without either of us saying a word about it. Whenever we were alone, the air felt heavy. Even when we were surrounded by people, I could feel his attention pulling toward me like gravity. I hated myself for noticing, but I noticed everything. The way he'd lean back when she entered the room, like flipping a switch. The way his smile was different when it was just for me. Then came the day it all started to unravel. She had to work late, so I was just in my room, scrolling on my phone. When I heard the front door open, I stepped out to see him standing there alone, setting his keys down. He said she'd texted that she'd be a few more hours at work. I should have said no. I really should have. But instead, I walked toward the living room, my heart pounding like I'd just stepped into a storm. We sat on the couch, an entire cushion between us at first. The TV was on, but I couldn't tell you a single thing about what was playing. Every time he shifted, I noticed. Every time our eyes met, I felt something dangerously close to excitement. I think he moved just a little closer. Half an hour in, he asked if I wanted a drink. I followed him to the kitchen, leaning on the counter while he poured. The silence between us was thick, charged. He set my glass down and, for the briefest moment, his fingers brushed mine. He grabbed my waist, bringing me in closer. His lips met mine. Everything around me just melted away. God. All I could feel was this moment. When she finally came home, I felt like my face was a neon sign flashing guilty. She didn't notice. She was exhausted and went straight to the shower. Jake had already left by this time, but I could still smell his cologne in the air. I wondered, could she smell it too? Had she noticed? After that night, there was no going back. Our conversations became riskier. He'd send me late-night messages under the pretense of funny memes or random thoughts, but I knew what they were. Invitations. One afternoon, she asked me casually, "Do you think he's been acting strange lately?" My stomach dropped. I forced a laugh and said, "You know, guys, they get in weird moods." But the truth was, he wasn't acting strange. He was acting different. And it was because of me. The first real crossing of the line happened on a rainy Thursday. She was upstairs taking a nap. He came into the living room, where I was scrolling my phone. Without a word, he sat next to me, right next to me. The rain outside made the world feel small, private, and then he started to kiss me. He had his hands on my face and he held it. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. We sat there, kissing like that for maybe a minute, but it felt like an hour. The sound of footsteps upstairs made us jump apart instantly. She came down yawning, completely unaware. I realized then, if she ever found out, there wouldn't just be drama, there would be war. But I guess I really didn't care anymore. I wanted him now, all to myself. It was me he had fallen for. I was clearly the better choice. From that day on, I was constantly looking over my shoulder. Not because I wanted to stop, but because I didn't want to get caught. Not yet, at least. I kept telling myself I was still in control, that I get to decide when she finds out. I knew I'd have to tell her soon, but I wanted to do it on my terms. I am in control. I really didn't care about her feelings anymore, to be honest. Then came the night that everything changed for all of us. We threw a party here at our place. Of course, we invited all our friends, coworkers, and of course, Jake. He was her boyfriend after all, but not for long. The party was going great. There was great music, dancing, drinking, and games. We even rented out the pool and hot tub area for the night. We were all having a blast. We were all in the pool, drinking, laughing, and just having fun. I looked over, and I saw it. I saw his arms around her. This enraged me. I mean, I knew he was just putting on an act for her. It was me he wanted. I was prettier, smarter, and just all around a much better choice, clearly. I needed to refill my drink. I stepped out of the pool and walked right past them. A made sure to strut while I did so. She noticed this and gave Jake and I a shocked and questionable look. As I was walking back to the pool, I was really feeling the music. I asked Jake if he'd like to dance with me. Jake looked at his girlfriend, and she gave him an uncomfortable nod. He got out of dance with me. In this moment, I felt I had one. I felt like I could do anything. Like I could take what I wanted when I wanted it. The wine really got to my head, and I started to move my body in such a way, wyo dancing, that everyone looked at me, kinda shocked. I mean, they all knew Jake was her boyfriend, but only Jake and I knew our secret, or so I thought. This was about to be the worst moment of my life. At this point, I didn't care anymore. I was only thinking of myself. I did it. I leaned in front of everyone and I kissed Jake, right there. It was drunk and sloppy, of course. Everyone looked shocked. Jake pulled away fast and wiped his mouth in disgust. I was shocked he did this, and I wasn't understanding why he was reacting this way. I mean, how much longer was he going to drag her along and pretend? I looked over at my roommate. She was grinning. I was confused. I looked over at Jake. He was grinning too. They both had evil grins. Everyone was staring at me. I began to feel the walls closing in and panic taking over. She began walking out of the pool, slowly. She was clapping and grinning with a smug look. She said, I knew all along. It turns out, Jake told her about us. He told her. I was the one that came on to him. How I made him so uncomfortable. He was playing both of us. I was so mad at this point, I just started yelling and screaming. I tried to tell her he was lying, and that Jake wasn't telling her the whole truth. I looked at Jake and he was just grinning. Arms crossed and grinning. I had been played, tricked. I felt so mad. I guess this is how she felt in the moment when Jake told her. Everyone was just staring at me while I freaked out. They all looked at me for what I truly was. A liar, a bad friend, a boyfriend stealer. Couldn't believe Jake had gotten away with this. I was finally exposed. That night, I lost everything. I lost Jake. I lost my friend. I was even kicked out of our apartment we shared. I also lost all my other friends that were at the party that night. They didn't want to be around me after that. I mean, who would? To them? I couldn't be trusted. Well, that's my story. Take it from me. Never allow yourself to feel this way for a friend's boyfriend. It never works out, and it will devastate friendships. It will never work out in your favor. You want to know what's really disappointing? I never got to tell them both the best part. I took a test. Looks like it's positive.